Think about the last person who really frustrated you. Now ask yourself, is it possible that somewhere out there, someone is thinking the exact same thing about you?
I've always thought of myself as the patient one, the one who adapts. But that's exactly what a difficult person would think, isn't it?
What if the people who drive you crazy aren't broken, and neither are you? What if you're just speaking completely different languages and neither of you knows it?
Welcome to the Life Architect.
Let's get into it.
Yesterday, a manager sent a blunt 2-sentence email to their team.
Just 2 sentences?
Literally 2 sentences. And half the team read it as this, welcome sign of efficiency and clarity. But the other half, they spent the rest of the day anxiously updating their resumes because they were absolutely convinced they were being fired.
Wow, just from one email.
Right. How does the exact same email create 2 wildly different realities? Today, we are examining a central tension drawn from Thomas Erickson's behavioral framework.
Which is a fascinating framework, by the way.
It really is. We're looking at this question. When we face severe, recurring interpersonal friction, the kind that makes you walk away from a conversation thinking, what is wrong with that person? Are we dealing with objectively difficult people who just lack basic self-awareness?
Or are we simply clashing with behavioral styles that operate on entirely different metrics than our own?
Exactly. This debate emerges from Erickson's premise that most communication breakdowns stem not from a lack of intelligence or malicious intent, but from fundamentally different ways of processing the world.
And I will be arguing that this idea of objective reasonableness is a comforting myth, and that our own invisible behavioral defaults are actually the source of the friction.
And I will be arguing that there is a baseline of objective social awareness, and individuals should be held accountable when their communication styles are disruptive, abrasive, or evasive.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let me outline my position clearly. Interpersonal friction, especially in professional environments or close relationships, it often feels like a breach of a shared social contract.
Sure.
I mean, yes, human beings have different styles, different temperaments, and different thresholds for stress. I am not suggesting we all need to be identical clones.
Right.
But there must be an expectation of universal self-awareness. When a boss barks demands at a team without providing a shred of context, or, when a friend constantly flakes on plans because they simply refuse to say no up front.
The classic flake, yeah.
Exactly. It's entirely natural and I believe intellectually sound to view this as a failure of their self-awareness. Treating all behaviors as equally valid styles just risks excusing genuinely poor communication.
I come at it from a completely different way. What you are labeling as a character flaw or a lack of decency is almost always just a different behavioral operating system functioning exactly as it was designed to function.
But it's malfunctioning for everyone else in the room.
Is it? The most dangerous blind spot in human interaction is not the other person's difficult behavior. It's our own assumption that our personal default style is the neutral, universal standard.
Well, some standards are universal, aren't they?
You talk about a social contract, but you are assuming everyone in the room signed the exact same document as you. They didn't. Holding on to this idea of objective reasonableness might feel good, but it prevents us from actually understanding the mechanics of human interaction.
I see why you think that, but let's test this idea against the real world. Let's look at everyday situations where someone seems undeniably at fault.
Okay, let's hear one.
Take the boss we just mentioned. Let's say it's a Monday morning, the boss walks in, ignores the team, and sends that blunt 2-sentence email demanding a major project be redone by noon.
A stressful Monday.
Highly stressful. And they offer zero explanation as to why the pivot is happening. Or consider the colleague who sits in a brainstorming meeting, visibly rolling their eyes and shooting down every new idea within seconds of it leaving someone's mouth.
Right, the resident pessimist.
Exactly. How can you argue that these behaviors aren't rooted in bad intentions, or at the very least, a complete and utter lack of professional respect?
Because you were judging their behavior exclusively through your own metric of what constitutes respect. Let's break down the mechanics of that, boss. You read a blunt, 2-sentence email, and your brain immediately interprets it as dismissive or aggressive.
Because it is dismissive.
But what is actually happening mechanically? That individual is operating from a behavioral baseline where speed, efficiency, and results are the highest possible virtues.
Okay.
To them, pulling you into a conference room to give you a long-winded, emotionally validated accommodating explanation about the context is actually a profound waste of your time. They are prioritizing momentum. To them, brevity is respect.
But shouldn't they realize how that brevity lands? If a boss refuses to give context, isn't that just objectively bad leadership regardless of their supposed style?
Bad leadership according to who?
According to decades of management theory, we have data confirming that context and psychological safety are paramount for a functioning team. Excusing their behavior by saying, well, they just value speed, feels like giving a free pass to someone who hasn't done the psychological work to govern their impulses.
You are demanding they be self-aware, but you are demanding they be self-aware entirely in your language. You want them to realize they are breaking your rules.
Well,
let me hold the unsentimental line here. They are not being malicious. They are speaking a language where speed matters more than consensus.
what about the colleague rolling their eyes, the one shooting down ideas?
Mechanically, they aren't trying to humiliate you. They are operating in a framework that values critical analysis and immediate problem solving over collective harmony. They see a logical flaw in the idea, and their brain demands they attack the flaw to save the project from failure.
So they are just attacking the idea, not the person.
Yes, they are entirely unaware that you have attached your personal worth to that idea.
It's like trying to share a file between a Mac and a PC without formatting it first. The data is perfectly good, but the operating system just rejects it.
Exactly. You don't get mad at the computer for being malicious. You just acknowledge that the operating systems are incompatible out of the box. But right now, you are getting mad at the PC for not being a Mac.
That's a fair point.
The friction doesn't come from their email or their critique. The friction comes from the gap between their intention, which is efficiency or accuracy, and your interpretation, which is malice.
Okay, but if their blunt email isn't actually malicious, why does it trigger such an intense, visceral, emotional response in me? If the problem isn't their intention, the problem has to be my interpretation.
Right.
So, is the burden entirely on the recipient to just translate this blunt force trauma into something positive?
It's not about making it positive, it's about making it accurate. The golden rule, treating others how you want to be treated, is actually terrible communication advice.
Wait, really? The golden rule is terrible?
In this context, absolutely. You have to treat them how they want to be treated. If you want a concrete action to take this week, when someone frustrates you, separate the behavior from the assumed intention. Stop interpreting difference as malice.
Okay, so strip away the narrative.
Yes, when that boss sends the 2-sentence email, strip away the narrative that says they don't respect me and look at the raw data. They need results by noon, respond with the results. You will be amazed at how much interpersonal friction evaporates when you stop requiring people to validate your emotional framework before doing their jobs.
That is a massive paradigm shift, and honestly, a bit unsettling. Because if the other person's behavior isn't inherently wrong, then the lens has to turn inward. We have to examine why we react so strongly to these collisions.
Exactly.
Which means I have to look at my own behavioral style.
Yes, and this brings us to the emotional center of this entire framework. It's the most uncomfortable truth you will have to face. Your own behavioral default is completely invisible to you.
Invisible?
Completely. You assume it is neutral. You think you are the baseline standard for human decency. When you walk away from an interaction shaking your head at how difficult someone is, you are entirely blind to the fact that someone else, in a different scenario, is walking away from you thinking the exact same thing.
Look, I have a really hard time accepting that. I genuinely think I'm the patient one in most of my professional relationships. I'm the one who adjusts.
Are you sure about that?
I am. I am the one who tries to include everyone, who mediates the conflicts, who makes sure the quiet people in the room get a chance to speak before we finalize a plan. Why is my style suddenly the problem?
Because I am actively trying to reduce friction. How can patience and inclusion possibly be framed as a behavioral deficit?
I hear that, but let's deconstruct what your patience actually looks like to someone who operates on a different frequency. You think you are the reasonable one. Let's look at a highly common scenario. You're running a meeting.
Okay.
You are waiting for everyone to contribute out of the sense of patience and inclusion. You want to make sure every single voice is heard, every feeling is validated, before a decision is made. Internally, you feel virtuous.
Because it is virtuous.
But to a fast-paced, task-oriented person sitting at that table, your patience feels like agonizing indecision. Wait, they see me making sure we have consensus and they read that as indecision?
Worse than that, to them, you are moving the goalposts. You are holding the decision hostage for for the sake of people's feelings. You are wasting company time.
You're kidding?
I'm not. In their eyes, you appear to fundamentally lack leadership because you refuse to make a call and drive the project forward.
That feels entirely backwards to me. My attempt to be democratic and thorough is being read as incompetence?
Yes, because human behavior broadly operates on two intersecting axes. First, pace. Are you fast and assertive, or are you slow and cautious?
Right.
Second, focus. Are you task and logic oriented, or are you people and relationship oriented? You are operating on the slower, relationship focused end of the spectrum. You value harmony.
I do.
But if you were dealing with someone on the fast, task-focused end, harmony is irrelevant to them. Results are what matter. To them, your endless mediation is the obstacle.
Okay, let me push back on this because it feels like we are glorifying the aggressive people and penalizing the thoughtful ones. What if I'm dealing with someone who isn't fast and aggressive? What if I'm the one trying to drive the energy up?
Give me an example.
Let's say I pitch an exciting new idea with grand vision and enthusiasm. I think I'm being inspiring, but the person across from me just starts interrogating me with highly specific questions about the budget, the timeline, and the risk factors.
Ah, yes.
In that moment, they are the ones being a pessimistic roadblock.
Are they? Or are you just blind to their mechanism? Let's look at that cautious, task-oriented person. To them, a grand vision without a spreadsheet isn't inspiring. It's terrifying.
Terrifying? Just to hear an idea?
Mechanically, their brain equates missing information with severe risk. To them, securing the data is how they protect the team from disaster. They are asking about the budget to save the project, and you are getting mad at them for not cheering.
So they think they're helping.
From their perspective, your inspiration looks reckless. Your lack of detail looks deeply irresponsible. Someone in your life has been on the receiving end of your perfectly reasonable enthusiasm and found it exhausting, overwhelming, and dangerously evasive.
Wow, that is genuinely difficult to sit with. The idea that my attempts to be inclusive or my attempts to be inspiring could be actively alienating someone else simply because I am forcing them to digest my operating system.
It flips the whole script.
It really does. It makes me question every frustrating interaction I've had this month.
It is difficult, but it's essential. The concrete action here is to sit with the discomfort of realizing you are the difficult person in someone else's story. Think of a recent frustrating conversation you had.
Yeah.
Stop asking what they did wrong and ask yourself, what did my reasonable behavior look like through their eyes? I guarantee you, the moment you flip the perspective, you will see how your virtues became their obstacles.
Okay, let's say I accept this uncomfortable reality. I accept that my style is not neutral and that my patience might be someone else's paralysis. How do we actually navigate these collisions without simply becoming a doormat?
That's the crucial question.
Right?
If we no longer have objective reasonableness to fall back on, what is the mechanism for actually getting things done in a room full of different operating systems? This is where we bring in the specific map Erickson uses. Once you understand the axes of pace and focus, you can categorize these behavioral languages into 4 distinct profiles, which he color codes.
The colors, right?
You have red, fast-paced and task-oriented. They are dominant, fast, and results-driven. You have yellow, fast-paced but people-oriented. They are enthusiastic, social, and driven by big-picture ideas.
The inspiring ones.
Exactly. Then you have green, slower-paced and people-oriented. They are steady, patient, and highly conflict-averse. And finally, blue, slower-paced and task-oriented. They are analytical, precise, and detail-driven.
So the person asking for the spreadsheet.
You got it. Once you have this map, you realize you aren't in a room full of difficult people. You are in a room full of people speaking 4 different languages.
I understand the utility of the map, but here's my major reservation.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I finally understand this map, if I'm the one who reads the book and sees the matrix, why is it always on me to adapt?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Well, if I know a colleague is a red, meaning they are fast, blunt, and dominant, does knowing that mean I just have to absorb their abrasive behavior? Does this framework just turn the most self-aware person in the room into the designated emotional babysitter for everyone else?
It can feel that way.
If I'm the PC and they are the Mac, Why am I always the one doing the reformatting? That seems like a recipe for deep, exhausting resentment.
Look, I completely understand why it feels like an unfair burden, but having the map doesn't mean accepting bad behavior, and it certainly doesn't mean babysitting their emotions.
What does it mean then?
It means you stop being surprised by their mechanics. You stop reacting to a blue's need for endless data as if it's a personal attack on your competence. You stop reacting to a yellow's lack of focus as if they are actively trying to sabotage the project.
Okay, so it removes the personal sting.
Exactly. You adapt occasionally, not because you are wrong, and not because you are surrendering your boundaries, but because communication only works when at least one person in the room is paying attention to the gap. The person with the map drives the interaction.
But wait, if I'm always the one recognizing the tool required for the job, aren't I just doing all the heavy lifting for a boss or a colleague who refuses to grow up?
I wouldn't frame it as refusing to grow up.
But if I constantly give the red the bullet points they want, I'm enabling their refusal to engage with nuance?
You aren't enabling them, you are managing them. Think about it like physics. If you are trying to drive a nail, you don't scream at the hammer for not being a screwdriver.
That's true.
You just use the hammer the way it was designed to be used to get the house built. If you need a rapid decision from a red, you give them bullet points and options, not a 20-minute emotional backstory. Because the backstory will cause them to reject the data entirely.
Right, they just tune out.
Or if you are dealing with a green who values stability and fears sudden change, you don't drop a massive project pivot on them at 4 p.m. on a Friday and demand immediate enthusiasm.
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
Exactly. You introduce it slowly, give them time to process, and assure them the team environment is stable. Adaptation isn't subjugation. Adaptation is utility.
So it's about recognizing what the other person values in real time and temporarily formatting your data to match their system so the transfer is successful.
Precisely. Before entering a conversation with someone who frustrates you, ask one simple question. What does this person value right now? Speed, connection, harmony, or precision?
That's incredibly practical.
If you can answer that, you can tailor your approach. You speak their language just long enough to get the message across. You don't have to change who you are. You just have to change how you transmit.
It strikes me that what we are really debating here is who we blame when the system breaks down.
That's exactly it.
We started this conversation looking at a world full of difficult people who need to be fixed, held accountable, or, instructed on proper social etiquette. It is a very appealing worldview because it places the burden of change entirely on the external world. If they would just act normal, meaning like me, everything would be fine.
And as we've established, that is a worldview that guarantees perpetual frustration because your normal is entirely subjective.
Right. The shift we've explored today is moving away from that to view the world as a room full of people speaking different behavioral languages, all of them entirely convinced that they are being perfectly clear.
Right.
Submissive, but is actually just fast. Or the cautious partner who asks too many questions, but is actually just trying to mitigate risk. The friction isn't malice, it's mechanics.
And the most vital piece of that puzzle is recognizing your own mechanics. Understanding that your patience might be someone else's paralysis, your precision might be someone else's prison.
That's a sobering thought.
Having the map, knowing whether you are dealing with speed, connection, harmony, or precision, gives you the power to choose your response rather than just reacting defensively to a perceived slight.
I have to acknowledge there is a lingering tension here that we haven't fully resolved.
Oh, for sure.
It is exhausting to be the one who constantly adapts. The debate over where the exact boundary lies between a different behavioral style and genuinely toxic, unacceptable behavior remains open.
Absolutely.
There are times when a dominant style does cross into abuse or a cautious style crosses into pure negligence. And understanding the behavioral map shouldn't preclude us from setting firm boundaries in those extremes. There's much more to explore in Erickson's material regarding how to protect yourself while using this framework.
It's a nuanced tool, not a cure-all.
But I find myself returning to what you said about the invisible nature of our own defaults.
It is the hardest mirror to look into. When you finally see that your own virtues are the exact source of someone else's stress, it changes how you walk into every room.
It really does. I thought I was the reasonable one. I'm not sure anymore. And that's the most useful thing I've learned today.